Join us on That's a Tap with DJ and CT. Today we're going to recap the 301 Rio card. It was a big one, DJ, but how you feeling?
Man, feeling great. 1 day removed from UFC Rio de Janeiro 301. Man, yeah, feeling good. Feeling good. Not necessarily the high that we had after UFC 300, which was expected, right? We spoke about it in our preview. We weren't expecting any anything similar to that. But look, solid card. Good weekend as well. So yeah, like all good, and looking forward to breaking it down. Looking forward to talking about the card, especially the main event, because there's, especially for us down under, for the more passionate fans towards our local fighter. Maybe we've got a couple of things in our mind that we want to you know take off our chest and put out there. So yeah.
Most def, and obviously, the main event was a huge fight. It was close. We'll talk about that, and we're gonna give out our grades like we do for the card. But for me, it was more of a surprise in terms of how it went.
Hmm.
More pleasantly surprised for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
because we talked about the preview. It wasn't as deep as
Yeah.
obviously other pay-per-views, and certainly not the last few.
Yeah.
However, it was a pleasant surprise because a few fights did deliver.
Yeah.
But what was your overall impressions of the whole event?
Yeah, I was quite happy, man. Like, I mean, to be honest, same feelings and same sentiments as you. I went into this card thinking, okay, look, yeah, I'm gonna first of all clear my mind of 300, which I tried to do to the best of my abilities. Didn't help that even before the card started, I was watching the Max Holloway highlights. But then, yeah, look, the card gave more than what I thought it will. I think the fights were really good. I think the fighters, put on a really good show. There were some really, really entertaining fights. There were some in the prelims. The main card was solid. It delivered. I think, the there were finishes. I think three finishes in the main card, and then the feel good moment with Jose Aldo. I think that tops everything, right? I think that moment alone, you know, elevated the card to a different level. Having we spoke about this in our preview, and I know you picked Jose Aldo to win, so well done, man. And I feel embarrassed for doubting the King of Rio, but listen, man, we already spoke about how we were happy to have Jose Aldo in the card and how that elevated the card. Then for him to go and do what he did, it just takes it to another level. All of Famer. It just you can't. It's just one of the best moments in recent times. So yeah, that definitely adds more value to that card. Regardless of how we feel about the main event, a stellar main event. It was a good fight, kept us on the edge of our seats, especially because of how Steve Erceg fought. We'll talk more about it when we get to that particular fight. But yeah, man, like very very happy with that UFC Rio card. I still think it was a solid card. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give our thoughts on the crowd and the chatter right now in terms of the seats, some seats being empty, and the activity in the crowd. But yeah, certainly the action in the octagon was pretty solid. Not by far not the best pay-per-view. But yeah, DJ, agree with you. And Michelle Pereira, obviously the excitement train, he added a lot to the main card. As you said, Jose Aldo, we'll hit
Yeah.
on that. But let's start with the main event, right? Um, is it fair to say now, DJ, that our Steve Erceg has garnered a whole new fan base right now?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think Steve Erceg came out the big winner out of UFC Rio, and I'm very, very happy for him. Couldn't have happened to a more nicer guy, I think, throughout this. I think there's a lot of good things that happened to Steve Erceg by taking this fight, right? Even before we get to the very fight itself, the pay-per-view cards are huge for the UFC. The media attention, everything's on you, right? And then not just be on a pay per view card, but be the main event or one half of the main event just adds more value and more eyeballs, right? A lot of people would have searched him up. Who is Steve Erceg? What is his record like? Seen his past fight. So a lot more exposure for the very talented Steve Erceg. A very chill guy, cool, calm, and collected man. Like you see, even leading up to the fight, he's very chill about it. He speaks about how he got the call to to take this fight. He was having a box of KFC, still proceeded to finish the rest of the meal, and then started his camp. Like, you cannot. How do you not love this guy? That's what I'm talking about, right? Uh, Much needed new talent to that division, because that division was getting a little bit stale. We spoke about this Pantoja having beaten the majority of the top contenders in that flyweight division. Steve Erceg came in and, in my opinion, gave the hardest fight to the current champion. I Pantoja to win in my picks, but man, I'll be honest, I did not expect this fight to go this close, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I remember when you picked Steve Erceg and Jose Aldo, I said, hey, although I haven't picked these guys, as a fan, I'd love to see them win, and I think there are arguments that Steve Erceg probably won as well, right? Um, how did I score the fight? I did think that Pantoja won ever so closely, and it was such a close fight that if it had gone to Erceg, it wouldn't have been any surprises. That's how close it was, and that's why I think, I'm sure, like, he was livid about it. He was disappointed, which he shouldn't be. I think he should be very proud of himself for the count, how he accounted for himself inside that octagon, going against arguably the best guy in the division, the best flyweight in the world. This guy's beaten almost everyone in the top 10. And you're coming in less than a year in the UFC, right? Only 4 fights in the UFC. This is your 4th fight. You come in and you take the champ. You make the champ doubt. You make the champ panic. You know what I mean? Like, he gave a lot of trouble. I thought he was the cleaner boxer, cleaner striker. I thought Erceg, that is. If the fight had remained standing for the majority of it, I feel like Erceg would have got that win. I mean, to quote Dana White, when he famously says 2-2, I actually did think it was 2 each going into that 5th round. And I actually had Erceg sort of edging out that 5th round, because, again, he was landing clean shots, and caused more damage. But we see at the end of the fight, Pantoja was, cut up, blood everywhere, and it's just that he goes for that last takedown, which I don't know if hindsight he regrets it, because Pantoja then reverses and controls him on the ground. I feel like that's what I think the strike differential was, more towards in favor of Erceg. I think 80-50 throughout the fight, whereas ground control time and takedowns is what cost that fight. Man, like, but then again, we spoke about this also, which is Pantoja's fight IQ and his ability to mix it up. And he saw the threat on the feet, and he realized, okay, well, my best work can be done on the ground, so I'm gonna try and take my fight there, which we saw him being quite reckless to get to a takedown, which was him putting his head down and throwing a bunch of strikes to get to the hips, get to the legs, and get that takedown, which he was more often than not successful in getting a takedown, and controlling him there. But man, I'm excited. I feel like Erceg, we will be seeing him, in a title fight very soon, right? I would like to think a rematch makes sense given how close it was, and the UFC may go in that direction. The only reason I'm not as confident with the rematch is purely because of someone called Mohamed Mukayev, who's also on a win streak, who's also got a big fan following, and many thought that this was his shot, like he should be fighting for the title. So, and he's ranked obviously ahead. Erceg's ranking will change, we know that, to a better one than number 10 for sure. So yeah, like, if they do go that Mukayev route, I think he should just take another contender fight, a number 1 contender fight, and I'm strongly confident that he will do extremely well, and we will see him fight for that title again, not somewhere in the future, but very, very soon. So yeah, man, like, I mean, as much as I'm sad and because how close he came, I felt that when the scorecards were getting read, and when I saw Erceg's disappointment, I felt it. Like, I felt bad for him. I felt sad for him. I mean, there was that one bullshit 49-46 card. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, man, overall close fight. Look, I do want to give the champion his dues as well, right? He is tough. Right? He took a lot of shots. He's got a granite chin, man. Like, he took some clean flush shots and kept coming forward and landed some of his own. You could see the strength, though, like the power, the difference in power. Some of Pantoja's shots were rocking Erceg. So yeah, man, like, let's give the champ his due too. Like, I don't want it to be where we take away from any of that. but he showed his resilience, he showed his fight IQ, and he fought the fight that potentially gave him the win.
Yeah, in order to upset the champion, you need to fight basically a near perfect fight, DJ, and Steve Erceg came also agonizingly close to fighting that perfect fight. He'll look back, obviously, the decisions to, yeah, to go for the takedowns. However, the stand-up game, super impressive. The way he carried himself, his toughness, his ability to cause so much damage to Pantoja. And look, really, sign me up for a rematch. I think it
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Maybe not immediately, like you said.
yeah,
Makayev is still around and yeah, firmly in that position. But yeah,
yeah,
Steve Erceg, stock gone all the way up. Right now, I know a
absolutely.
lot more about him. He's got a huge fan in me and another Aussie
Yeah,
rising star. Along with
absolutely.
Jack and
Yeah,
hopefully the future of Australian MMA.
absolutely, man.
Yeah, in terms of
Yeah,
that. But yeah, Alexandre Pantoja, what he did in terms of, I think he edged it with the IQ, like you said.
yeah,
Obviously on the ground game, he was tough there. But I'm going to be a little controversial and say I really could have seen a world where Erceg got the nod. Just the way
yeah,
I look at it, I know maybe they score things differently, but in just damage, if we're just
yeah.
going off damage, I think Steve Erceg, caused a lot more damage than Pantoja did.
Absolutely, man. If it was purely based on damage, 100%. And I don't even think it's a controversial take. I think it's a very take. There is a world where Erceg could have been the champion, and that's why it was so agonizing for us because this fight gave me the same feeling as the Volkanovski Islam Makhachev first fight, where we all thought Volk won. It was such a close fight, and to come so close in creating greatness and to fall so painfully short, and that's what it was, right? And I look 100%. Like I don't think anyone would have argued against if Erceg was named and new. I think actually the majority of the the opinions online and in the MMA community is that Erceg won. So yeah, look, it is unfortunate. It is what it is, right? But man, talk of the skill of this guy, not just what we saw in the octagon, but to be able to take on a fight, not necessarily short notice. I think we spoke off air about this. Usually, traditionally, they get 12 weeks to prepare for a fight. He took it on 8 weeks notice, right? Again, we won't time it short notice, but it's still less than what you'd normally get. Goes into enemy territory, and we know how hostile the Brazilian crowd can be. It goes in a main event against one of their champions, and arguably wins the fight. So there's no Erceg's now become definitely in Australia an household name, but even within the MMA community, man. Like I think the respect and stardom of Steve Erceg shot up. If it is not the rematch, I would like to see Erceg fight Brandon Moreno. Another exciting fighter, a good fight for Erceg. Moreno was who he originally called out after his last win over Schnell. And then obviously the title fight came about, rightfully took it, and now more than ever, he validated that. If anyone had doubts, you gave this number 10 guy a title shot, there you go. Go watch this fight. We'll tell you why, right? To be in the UFC for less than 12 months, and to do this, it's super impressive, man. And look, I'm gonna say that Erceg, we'll probably see Erceg in the Perth card because there's enough time for him to turn around. That's in August. So yeah, I'm very confident we'll see Erceg. Makes sense, right, for Pantoja to come here because he came into Rio, took the champ, had him on the ropes, maybe come to, the challengers territory and try and have a definitive win, if you feel like, sort of to shut out all the noise that we're seeing now. But again, look, there's also an argument that can be made that they might even look at getting him in the Manchester card with Mokaev. So we don't know. But either way, I think Erceg will feature in the Perth card, which is great for us. The more talented fighters like this, the merrier. So yeah, and man, like how good is the Australian market? Like how good is the Australian MMA fighters? Like we're seeing some big performances coming out of some of the up and coming new guys, which is what's very good to see. The future of MMA in Australia is extremely safe. So yeah,
Yeah, the fact that he's not been with the UFC very long makes people think around the world, like, how many of these guys outside of the UFC right now are we
yeah,
missing out on seeing?
right,
How
yeah.
how much untapped talent DJ is there as
Matt,
well? Like for a Steve Erceg to just come straight in, and we haven't really seen a lot of MVP as well.
man, the thing is, right? Like I think I would like to say that a PI, a UFC PI, or a performance institute in Australia is not going to be too far away. They did one in in Mexico. Obviously, have one in Vegas. They wanted one in China. So I feel like Australia is as big a market, right? So I feel like and we know, being here, living here, we know the passion that these young guys have for the sport, right? You see more MMA gyms being full than any other sport. Right? There are other sports that are quite popular. Australia is a country known for the athletic prowess, the sporting capabilities, and their accomplishments across all sports. Right? The AFL, rugby, cricket, soccer, all of that. And I dare I say, MMA is probably having the steepest rise at the moment. Any MMA gym you go to is full. The local competitions are, extremely popular. So I think, give it another couple of years, and these guys who are going out there and putting these performances in the world stage is going to inspire more and more people to take on the sport, to represent the country in those big organizations. And yeah, man, like it's just nothing but good things.
Yep, definitely, and it's growing and excited for the future, as well as we talked about Jose Aldo possibly signing off on his career, the polar opposite. But he showed DJ he's still got a lot left in the tank. How surprised were you by that
Man,
performance?
surprised pleasantly, happy, feel fulfilled. There was that level of warmth inside you that you just can't explain. Like it's like one of those feel good moments when the good guys pull through. There's the storyline, everything. His hometown, the King of Rio. We remember, in the olden days when he used to fight in Rio, the reception he got, and after his victories, and jumping into the crowd, to to see him being able to secure a win was amazing, and the way he did it. And before I get to all of that, man, I'm someone, if I make a mistake, I own up to it, man. I was made to eat my words, because I said, look, he's been inducted to the Hall of Fame. He's been off, outside the UFC. He's been off the roster, so we don't know what his mentality is like. Maybe he's switched it off. He definitely hasn't, man. He is the king of Rio. Shame on me for doubting that, and absolutely happy for Jose Aldo. He didn't just go there and scrape a win. He wasn't gifted a win. He won that 3-0. That was a shutout, right? That was a shutout against a game opponent, against a ferocious opponent. We've seen, go and look at Jonathan Martinez's fight. He's extremely ferocious, extremely aggressive. But, Jose Aldo was able to shut that down. I know in the commentary there was a little bit of chatter about uh, Jonathan Martinez being a bit starstruck. It's a big thing, right? Like, you're in a cage and you're standing across, the Jose Aldo. It just is a different story. It also, at the end of the fight, seeing those scenes, you see what it meant for Jonathan Martinez as well. He was distraught with himself for not being able to get the win. He was in tears. Jose Aldo, being the legend he is, even before starting to celebrate, just turns around and starts to console him. And I'm sure he gave words of advice saying, "Listen, this is just a start. Don't worry. Like, losses teach you more, and you're gonna keep going." And it was very, very good to see. And obviously, then, yeah, man, like, and then see the celebration, see Jose Aldo on the shoulders of his coach, which is an iconic celebration for him. To see him, run around the cage, man, everything. The walkout was epic. The crowd reception, which we had no doubt about, right? Like Jose Aldo, we knew was going to get the biggest pop in that arena. and that was rightfully so. So it's not, I mean, man, if I like, I don't know. Look, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I will not doubt Jose Aldo again. So if he says he's going to go make a run at the title, I'll be like, yeah, all for it. But I think there's still a lot of fights that can be had within the UFC that could be, quite exciting, competitive, and from a financial standpoint, can serve Jose Aldo well as well. Like Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz, which was originally meant to be what it was meant to be. That's a legend versus legend fight. There's some fighters in the top 10 that Jose Aldo could do well with. So like, yeah, man, like depends on what he wants to do. So yeah, very happy.
Yep, no doubt. And look, as we talk a little bit about our predictions, as we go through the rest of the card, man, I didn't pick Jose Aldo because I thought super confident. It was more of just like, it was like nothing to lose, you know. It
Yeah,
was house money, and I thought the crowd, I thought a surprise would happen, and that's what it
yeah,
did. But yeah, he was well and truly the underdog. So I'm not about to try to take any credit. I didn't expect to see what what we saw, right?
yeah,
Um, but look, it was the feel good moment of the whole card. Like you said, the
yeah,
crowd was still there, right?
yeah.
Not trying to throw shots at the crowd, but yeah, it petered out. Like, I don't know if you can give the viewers and me an explanation, but super passionate, culture and MMA fan base in
Yeah,
Brazil. But obviously they've
yeah,
got other events on there, and Brazil's a
yeah,
very happening place. I'll put it that.
yeah, yeah, man. Like I think I saw a DC release a video, and he was sort of giving an explanation as to why there were empty seats in the arena. And what he said was there was a Madonna concert later that night, which was free to attend, and they're expecting some two something million people in that same arena. So people obviously opted to go for that, which is the later event as opposed to the UFC event. So yeah, look, either way, yeah, the crowd's always interesting in Brazil because they're very passionate. They get into it, but at the same time, I think the most disappointing moment I would say is the Glover Teixeira retirement. I mean, he was a champion, deserved. I know he lost, but he deserved better. He deserved to be, you know, have a standing ovation uh, from the whole arena as he walked out, regardless of the outcome. So that was a bit sad to see. So I don't think it was reminiscent of this as well, where we saw Pantoja saying, "Hey, don't leave. Everyone stay." It shouldn't be. Your champion's talking. Your champion's gone through a war. I think just you got to give that respect. Let's just maybe in this instance, maybe the crowd thought what most of us thought, which is maybe Pantoja lost. Maybe it wasn't the performance that they were. Regardless, though, I think you stand by your hometown heroes. So, yeah, but doesn't the arena was still buzzing. They were still passionate. It was all good. It was just those moments, like at the end of it, and everyone leaving, and probably the champion having to say, don't leave, everyone stay. Just you don't want that shouldn't be what's in a champion's mind after securing a hard fought win.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the crowd were great in various moments, and it's not the biggest lineup as we know. However, the earlier fights in the main card, Michel Pereira got the emphatic win by stoppage. DJ, yeah, and then Anthony Lionheart Smith got the win as well. We both got that
Yeah,
wrong over
got that wrong.
Petrino.
Yeah, I mean, look, with Michel Pereira, it was just we knew what to expect, and we got what we expected, right? What he needed to be careful was, or what he needs to be more mindful is, sort of is. I think he's very happy to be there. Whenever you ask him, he's not fussed about who the opponent is. He never calls anyone out. His aim is to be a showman, and he says that openly. I want to be the UFC showman, right? I don't think the title drives him as much. It's more to go out there and entertain the masses, which is great. If that's what he wants to do, then what he's doing is great. As he progresses up the rankings, doing this is going to become harder and harder. Right. We recall during his early UFC days, I believe it was his second fight, where someone was able to capitalize on his opponent was able to capitalize on his drastic moves within the cage, which then tired him out towards the later rounds, and we saw him, get that win. So since then, Pereira has obviously reduced it a little bit. Like even in this one, we saw he didn't dance out. He was a more subdued walk to the cage. But then inside there, he did that backflip. Almost, he did brush his cheek or chin, but also his shoulder. So it's a little bit of controversy, but hopefully he learns from that. At the end of the day, you go through a training camp, you do all these things. It's not worth it, man. Like it's not worth it to get DQ'd and lose your win money on something so extravagant. The showmanship is great, and that's why we tune in to watch him. Right, his movement, the sort of how he entertains, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that he's willing to not just put his body on the line, but also put his career on the line. Because imagine losing all these fights by doing all this, that could impact his career, could get cut from the UFC, all these kind of things. He's risking all of that to entertain us because that is a big thing for him, and we appreciate that. And we do want that to continue, and we want to see that happening, but more measured a little bit, especially when it comes to sort of control over those movements. And in this backflip, he didn't have any control. He had control over his backflip, but you don't know what the opponent's going to do, right? And he's clearly a grounded opponent, so it was very, very interesting. So, but man, yeah, he got the guillotine choke, and there were two guillotines, right? So he got the win. Let's see who he gets matched up with next in this middleweight division. Which the higher you progress, it gets tougher and tougher because there's some really talented people in there. And then we got, like you pointed out, Lionheart Smith, man, the crafty veteran, pulls out a win. I mean, we both picked Petrino, and I think it was justified given the both their past fights. But man, I thought Petrino was doing well to begin with, and just a rookie mistake, an inexperience even, I would say, sort of relied more on his brute strength as opposed to tactics. Shoots with his neck outside, head outside, giving that opportunity for the guillotine, and someone as skilled and experienced as Anthony Smith is going to jump on it, man. And I do believe it when he said, the moment I grabbed a hold of my hands, I knew I wasn't letting go, and I knew that too because instead of then trying to fight the choke and trying to get out of it in the clinch, what we saw Petrino do was lift him up and slam him onto the canvas, which, you know, again, if you know what you're doing, it just played into Anthony Smith's strength. He just refused to let go of that. And then it was a quick tap. It was just, that's it.
Yeah, really smart, savvy win, and yeah,
Yeah,
credit to him. We've had our jokes about
yeah,
Lionheart in terms of some bloody wars he's had and taken a lot of
yeah,
damage, and however,
yeah,
he's still there.
yeah,
He's still a draw. He's still a name, and yeah, good win. Really, really, really good win over a good opponent. But yeah,
yeah,
capitalizing as well.
yeah,
And one of the flashiest finishes of the card was Paul Craig getting
yep.
knocked out by
Yeah.
Barolo. Man,
I mean, we predicted it, right? Like, because we knew that um, Paul Craig is traditionally known for taking a lot of damage, right? Sort of his modus operandi, if you may. He takes a few shots to get to the position where he wants to get to. But some of these guys, and let's not forget, he is depleting himself more, getting down to middleweight. Some of these guys hit really hard, and Kaya Baraya is one of them. And then we saw sort of what happened. Like he even the sequence leading up to that knockout shot, there was a few other shots that landed, but we didn't see Paul Craig showing any urgency to then defend and negate that situation before proceeding to do whatever he wanted to do. He still had his hands down, or no one's hands down, but the guard wasn't up to scratch. And which allowed Kyle Breyer to land that shot very clean, and it was lights out straight away. So unfortunate to see because I do think Paul Craig's a very talented guy, and especially his grappling is unmatched. But yeah, he just needs to be very mindful of sort of going up against some of these savage strikers because some of them like have power. You can't do that against. Let's just say you've beaten some contenders and now you're fighting for a championship. You can't do that against the Duplessis or the Adesanyas and Whitakers. It's just not. It's not how it works. So it's
yeah,
a little bit, yeah. So I think he just needs to be more mindful of taking damage. That's just probably what I would say. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. He's had an up and down career, but he's definitely one of the best grapplers, and needs to
Yeah.
be, like you said, very cognizant of his opponents. But yeah, really impressive, emphatic win from
Yeah.
Breyer, and then Aussie's own Jamie Malarkey, one of the feature prelims.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he's on the wrong end of the buzz now because the finish, the the moves, and the takedown that
Yeah.
happened on Malaki
Yep.
Dana was talking about it as
Raving
well.
about it. Yeah. Mauricio Rufy defeated Jamie Malaki. Jamie Malaki's had a string of bad luck too, and he's obviously, I'm pretty sure he's itching to bounce back. But yeah, man, there was a stand-up performance there. There was some stand-up performances in the prelims as well. But yeah, like overall, good card. Um, the Canelo card was on the same time as well. I think the timing sort of, it wasn't ideal because I think as halfway through the main event, Canelo had started fighting. So yeah, had to juggle two screens, but yeah, good day for combat fans. I mean, man, pay-per-view recaps. We do something always every time we recap a pay-per-view, which is grading the card. So, CT, give us your grade.
As like you said, we grade it based on pay-per-views, not fight nights, and in
Yeah,
terms of everything, spectacle, excitement, results
yeah,
involved, enjoyment, fun factor, all of that. I got to give this one a 7,
yeah,
DJ. Would have been a little lower, but I think the Jose Aldo emphatic performance is something we'll always remember, and
yeah,
especially if he continues this resurgence. And yeah,
yeah.
the main event was really like a really surprise for me in terms of how competitive it was and also how exciting it was. So a 7 for me, which is around about an average grade. What about you?
Man, yeah. Look, I was thinking 7 as well, but I'm just going to give an extra 0.5 purely because of that Josie Aldo moment and the main event. So 7.5 from me for UFC 301 Rio de Janeiro. Um, good card, good finishes. Not the level of, not the level of. I want to use the word quality because that's not the right word to use because the fights were quality. Just more in terms of name value, how stacked it
Yeah,
was. It's not
depth.
what we're used to. Yeah, the depth, yes, correct. Is not what we're used to. So yeah, all that factoring all that in, but also those performances and the performance of the King of Rio, that main event, I'm going to go with the 7.5.
Yep. No, nice. Yep. Definitely look forward to the next one now, and obviously we've got Manchester coming up. We've got McGregor, and
Yeah.
the rest of the year it's going to be on fire, right?
June's the month, man. June's the month. Two pay-per-views. June 1st, second for us. The big one, the coveted lightweight title gets defended. Uh, Islam Makhachev, the current number one pound for pound fighter, takes on or defends his title against the great legendary Dustin the Diamond Poirier. His third shot at the title. Many argue that it's his last. So, which indicates that we'll see the beast in him. So I'm very excited, man. And then the core main, I'm excited for that card, which is Paulo Costa and Sean Strickland. The one is trash talking in that press conference is going to be insane. Then we got 303, the big one, the return of the Mac against Chandler. Seems like the Colby Covington Ian Gary fight's done too. We got the Jamal Hill and Roundtree in there, man. Yeah, well, like in terms of depth, the UFC is back again with those cards, man.
Yeah, don't forget Perth UFC
Yeah, but
305, and
I
you
bet.
said I'll be keenly awaiting if they get Steve Erceg on there
Yep.
again real
I'm,
soon.
I'm gonna put some money on it. I'm gonna put some money on it to say that Erceg will feature in it.
But who would they give him? Like if you're if
Moreno.
you
It has to be
if
Moreno.
Moreno, okay. But if your stock
Moreno
is
or
that high,
Royval.
wouldn't you just sit it out and say I'll wait for
I don't.
Pantoja again?
I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, like he can because the way that the division is sitting at the moment, Moreno's fought him thrice, Pantoja that is, and Royval's fought him thrice too, right? Cape's fought him. Uh, Alex Perez has fought him. I think everyone's fought Pantoja other than Makayev, right? Unless he wants to sit it out. But I don't know. I don't think Erceg would want to sit it out. I think Erceg would want to feature in that Perth card, given Perth is his hometown, right? But also because I think Erceg is the best guy in the field. This is remember he's early in the career, right? I do feel whoever he gets matched up against, I think he beats them. I do confidently say that. So, which means I don't think there's any threat unless someone lands a lucky shot. I don't think there is any threat towards that title shot. And if he were to take that shot, I think it just solidifies it even more.
Okay. Yeah. No, you make
Yeah,
great points, and yeah, I really would love to see him on the Perth card as well. He's a Perth, obviously hometown kid,
yeah.
and yeah, that would make that card huge, and yeah, Moreno, there'll be fireworks as well. But for this episode, yeah, really look forward to the next one. But recapping this one's been a pleasure as always. That's a tap. New episodes every week. Like and subscribe to All Combat Sports Talk with DJ and myself, CT. It's always a pleasure, guys. Appreciate you. And we'll look out for our boxing recap. Canelo Alvarez got the win. And of course, we've got our Aussie own Cambosis fighting Lomachenko, the legend, coming up this week as well. So be on the lookout for that. DJ, always great to talk.
Likewise, my man.